Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for choosing us. This is Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 TV, and my name is Nanatufo Boateng. Thank you so much for joining us. Yesterday was a beautifully historic day in our country, Ghana. The nation together stood in prayer, and on the back of that, we'd like to commend the government. I would like to praise the government highly for putting together a national day of prayer and thanksgiving. We saw the Christian service in the morning and then the Muslim service in the afternoon, led by His Eminence, the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Dr. Osman Nuhu Shaributu. And it's beautiful to have all these clergymen and Muslim clerics, imams, pray for the nation. I mean, we know the common saying that a nation that prays together grows together. And I would like to commend the government for this, because even the Bible admonishes us not to forget the assembly of the brethren. Now, this assembly, as captured in Hebrews 10:25, is to help encourage each other, to grow each other, to support each other. And it's important what the government has put together. Yes, that's what you have on the screen. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. That's Hebrews 10:25. And so we'd like to commend the government for putting together the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. Now, in another breath, okay, there's the demand for accountability. And so if you stay in the same book of Hebrews, I think it's 13:17, that is where we are admonished by the Bible to obey our leaders as those who will give account, okay? So there's a demand on us as citizens to obey and submit to leadership, and then there's a demand on leadership to account to the citizenry. And so you have it there: obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable to you. All right, so let's mull over these two scriptures of the Bible, even as we stand together in prayer, and of course give thanks to God for how far He has brought us as a people, and where He is leading us to, as He led the people of Israel out of Egypt. Shalom. Peace be unto you. All right, let's say thank you to everyone that was part of the City Business Festival 2025. Absolutely a huge success. We are eternally grateful to you for being part of the City Business Festival. So to our sponsors, our partners, our viewers and listeners, for making the City Business Festival 2025 a huge success. We promise to come your way with business info, business intel, nuggets to help you shape, grow, nurture, expand your business. And together with you, we hope that we've been able to deliver. And so this morning, we're saying thank you to our sponsors, Absa Bank. Oh, absolutely amazing people. You guys stood with us throughout the entire month of June, 30 days of June, and you stood with us through it all. MTN Business, MTN, everywhere you go. You came through and really help us put this together. Then there's Zonda Tech. Oh, Zonda Tech, Charlie, wonderful people. The kind of cars these people are bringing, in fact, very soon, the competition will be out of the roof. And so thank you so much to Zonda Tech Ghana Limited. Thank you, MTN Business. Thank you, Absa Bank. And thank you to you, our sponsors, our viewers, our listeners. Oh, you guys are amazing. Thank you for staying through with us the entire month of June for the City Business Festival. Now, let's tell you what's happening on TV on Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Something amazing that will rekindle that spirit of volunteerism and ultimately lead to patriotism amongst us. Remember growing up, when we used to do communal labor and all, and where we used to volunteer. And if you extend the conversation, even situations such as blood donation is actually volunteer work. There's blood available because you have volunteered to donate freely. And so that's what this program is about, to rekindle the spirit of volunteerism amongst Ghanaians. And so stay with us every 6:30 p.m. on Sundays as Stephen Kweku Daku comes your way with the Volunteers TV show. It promises to be exciting, and you might just want to be a part of it. So every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. here on Channel 1 TV, we'll bring you the Volunteers TV show. So be part of it. Okay, thank you so much. Let's get into the newspapers now and find out what the papers are saying this morning. I'll start off with the Daily Graphic. Of course, on the back of that historic event yesterday, nation stands in prayer. Offers thanks, rededicates to good virtues. President charges Ghanaians to embrace common identity. It was just beautiful to watch yesterday, from the church service in the morning and then the Muslim service in the afternoon. Absolutely beautiful. Right. Other stories say no panic over recent COVID-19 cases. Minister assures public. Indian Premier arrives today for state visit. The Prime Minister of India is arriving in Ghana today for a state visit. And then you have media will hold government to account. That's the re-elected GJA President Albert Kwabena Dwumfour speaking there. I'll take you to the back page. Gold board licensing regime in full force. Gold trading without license now a crime. That's attributed to the CEO of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi. Minister visits LEAP payment centers. Minister visits LEAP payment centers. So that's the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times. Ghanaian Times this morning says, thank you, Lord. President Mahama leads national prayer. Thank you, Lord. President Mahama leads national prayer. Otumfuo resumes Boko conflict mediation at Menchia. Otumfuo resumes Boko conflict mediation at Menchia. Support president to deliver on mandate. Cardinal Texan rallies Ghanaians as Christians and Muslims seek face of God. Support president to deliver on mandate. Cardinal Texan rallies Ghanaians as Christians and Muslims seek face of God. Twist and turns in GJA elections as Albert Dwumfour retains position. Twist and turns in GJA elections as Albert Dwumfour retains position. On the back page, you have the EU launching a cocoa monitoring program and UMAT holding an innovation and career fair. So that's the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let's get to the news center. The news center is here. Ghana above self for common good, dignity, and moral leadership. In reference to the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. That's the report from the news center. Ghana above self for common good, dignity, moral leadership. Gold board licenses 240 buyers. This is attributed to the CEO, Sami Gyamfi. Then you have EcoBank commits $32 million to drive clean energy adoption in Ghana. Then you have $100 million romance scam. Dada Joe remix extradited to US. Then $4 billion 24-hour economy plan to deliver 1.7 million jobs. $4 billion 24-hour economy plan to deliver 1.7 million jobs. And that's Augustus Obuadum Tano. Guzi Tano. That's the presidential advisor, the 24-hour economy secretariat speaking there. Right, so that's the News Center newspaper. The Chronicle. Chronicle is next. Mahama cautions Ghanaians against tribalism. Mahama cautions Ghanaians against tribalism. And then you have sand winning threatening Volta Lake. And that's Frank Anodompre making that revelation. He says sand winning is threatening the Volta Lake. Now, the Chronicle has a scripture for the day taken from the book of Galatians, the chapter number 3, the verse number 28. And it says, there is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Galatians 3:28, there is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. May the Lord add his blessing to the reading of his word. When you go onto the back page of the Chronicle, though, that's where you get your sports stories. Abraham set to join Besiktas from Roma. Arsenal signed goalkeeper Kepa from Chelsea for £5 million. Messi expresses deep regret over missed opportunity in Club World Cup. And you have Bernardo Silva makes brutal admission after City's shock exit from Club World Cup. That's the Chronicle. Moving on to the Herald. The Herald newspaper. U.S. Embassy breaks silence on Sakawa lovers and inheritance grabbers as first Ghanaian internet fraud suspect gets extradited. U.S. Embassy breaks silence on Sakawa lovers and inheritance grabbers as first Ghanaian internet fraud suspect gets extradited. One Ghana cedi Dumso levy takes effect on July 16, GRA confirms. One Ghana cedi Dumso levy takes effect on July 16, GRA confirms. We know that the 1 cedi on every liter of fuel levy that was announced about a month ago has seen some postponements to allow for further engagement. Now the GRA is telling us that it has been put in the ICOMS system, and so the implementation date is now set at July 16. We'll wait for the rollout to see how it goes. Ex-OSP investigator sues over unfair termination, wants Kisia Jabin, others cross-examined. Ex-OSP investigator sues over unfair termination, wants Kisia Jabin, others cross-examined. Volta Regional Minister commends NLA for swift disaster relief. Volta Regional Minister commends NLA for swift disaster relief. Then you have SEC blows alarm on dubious investment schemes. That's the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, blows alarm on dubious investment schemes. That's the Herald newspaper this morning. Daily Analyst says National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. Let's build bridges, not barriers. Mahama urges Ghanaians. Uneasy calm at NPA over continuous stay in office by NPP appointed Deputy CEO. Uneasy calm at NPA over continuous stay in office by NPP appointed Deputy CEO. Health Minister confirms 107 COVID-19 cases at University of Ghana. Romance scam, Dada Joe remix extradited to US. John 4 thanks Ghanaians and journalists after massive win. John 4 thanks Ghanaians and journalists after massive win. That's the Daily Analyst. The Ghanaian publisher says, keep hands off judiciary. Shia Imam warns NDC. Keep hands off judiciary. Shia Imam warns NDC. Sand winning endangers Volta Lake. That's Anod Dompre, the minority chief whip, speaking there. Gold Board approves 240 buyers attributed to the CEO, Sami Jemfi. Lest we forget, by the Lady President of the Ghana Bar Association, Afua Gate. Lest we forget, by the Lady President of the Ghana Bar Association, Afua Gate. Whole week triggers COVID surge. Health Minister says no fears. And then you have John 4 vows to defend media rights. So that's the Ghanaian publisher for you. I'll take you to the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor newspaper says 2024 NPP defeat. Frank Adu blasts Nana and Ken, says they were disastrous. 2024 NPP defeat. Frank Adu blasts Nana and Ken, says they were disastrous. Ato concludes debt restructuring talks in China. Ato concludes debt restructuring talks in China, and that's in reference to the Finance Minister, Dr. Cassiel Ato Forsen. Gold Board exports hit $5 billion in H1 2025, beating 2024 total. Okay, Gold Board exports hit $5 billion in H1. That's the first half of 2025, beating 2024 total. And then you have National Prayer and Thanksgiving held. That's the Inquisitor newspaper. The Informer says, revealed procurement fraud killing Ghana. Procurement fraud killing Ghana. And that comes with a picture of Frank Adu Jr., the former chief executive officer of Cal Bank. Incriminating allegations against NDC chairman. Government urged to institute investigation. Then you have NPP disowns Abronye over unguarded remarks about Duncan Williams. NPP disowns Abronye over unguarded remarks about Duncan Williams. Bagman calls for mindset revolution towards 24-hour economy policy. Bagman calls for mindset revolution towards 24-hour economy policy. And then you have Galamsey, declare state of emergency, coalition reiterates call. Declare state of emergency, coalition reiterates call. That's the Informal newspaper. We'll do some business stories before we head online. I'll bring you the front page of the Business and Financial Times, BNFT. It says GMA and stakeholders unite against harassment at sea. That's the Ghana Maritime Authority and stakeholders unite against harassment at sea. AGI urges government to account for environmental levies. AGI urges government to account for environmental levies. Government to unlock 6 billion cedis in concessional loans for MSMEs. Government to unlock 6 billion cedis in concessional loans for MSMEs. Latif Abubakar wins Best Project Management Prize in Africa. Latif Abubakar wins Best Project Management Prize in Africa. And then on the matter of smuggling, you have inside the fight to curb timber smuggling, policy, policing, and the path forward. If you grab a copy of the BNFT, you get that article. There's a feature also in here that says why we missed the June deadline for 5G rollout. Why we missed the June deadline for 5G rollout. And then you have 6 months in, reset, and the science behind it. That's the Business and Financial Times newspaper. I take you online now, channel1news.com. Channel1news.com. PURC overburdening consumers to cover ECG's inefficiencies. That's CATS International speaking. It's a West African Regional Director, Adumaku Kusi, has been speaking to the coming into effect of the 2.45% increment in electricity tariff as announced by the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission. And he says the PURC is overburdening consumers to cover the inefficiencies of the ECG. Other stories say Akufo-Addo's COVID-19 legacy aiding UG's outbreak response. That's Akwesi Akwa speaking, and he's a member of parliament, I think for Akim Oda. I'll confirm that. Akufo-Addo's COVID-19 legacy aiding UG's outbreak response. That's Akwesi Akwa speaking there. Parliament approves $360 million World Bank loan to support 2025 budget. Parliament approves $360 million World Bank loan to support 2025 budget. You have Mahama appoints new governing board for NEIP, Owusu Abebio named chair. Mahama appoints new governing board for NEIP, Owusu Abebio named chair. Moving on, Akufo-Addo's best years were before COVID-19. That's Eugene Entry. He's a former member of parliament for Subing. And he sat with my colleague Umaru Sanda Amadu on the face-to-face program here on Channel 1 TV. These are some of the stories coming out of that interview. Akufo-Addo's best years were before COVID-19, attributed to Eugene Entry. Again, Eugene Entry says, NPP lost 2024 polls for ignoring Ghanaians. NPP lost 2024 polls for ignoring Ghanaians. UG defends suspension of social gatherings, links COVID-19 spike to whole week celebrations. That's the University of Ghana. Defends suspension of social gatherings, links COVID-19 spike to whole week celebrations. Ghana extradites Dada Joe remix to US over alleged romance fraud. Ghana extradites Dada Joe remix to US over alleged romance fraud. AG seeks dismissal of CJ Tokonu's judicial review application at Human Rights Court. AG seeks dismissal of CJ Tokonu's judicial review application at Human Rights Court. COVID-19 resurgence, we are on top of it. No need to panic. Health Minister Kwabena Minta Akando, given the assurance on the floor of Parliament yesterday, where he appeared to answer some questions regarding the resurgence of COVID-19, especially on the campus of the University of Ghana. I look forward to seeing Ghanaians travel for vacation, not for greener pastures. That's the Archbishop Duncan Williams speaking there. I look forward to seeing Ghanaians travel for vacation, not for greener pastures. Hold me accountable. I am not above the law. Mahama to Ghanaians. Hold me accountable. I am not above the law. Mahama to Ghanaians. Prayer, not politics. Sustaining Ghana's peace. Again, His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama speaking there. He says prayer and not politics is sustaining Ghana's peace. So go to channel1news.com. You get the details of these stories and a host of others all up online at channel1news.com. Now I'll take you to citynewsroom.com. Citynewsroom.com. I don't want Mahama to succeed. That's Boachi Entry, the former Member of Parliament for Subin, NPP, former NPP MP for Subin. Eugene Boachi Entry says, I don't want Mahama to succeed. When you go online, citynewsroom.com, you get the details there and why he's saying so. GRA to implement 1 cedi fuel levy, July 16. GRA to implement 1 cedi fuel levy, July 16. AGI, Guta, warn, tariff hike could undermine 24-hour economy rollout. AGI, Guta, warned tariff hike could undermine 24-hour economy rollout. CATS International threatens legal action over PURC tariff hike. And CATS International threatens legal action over PURC tariff hike. Then, of course, you have the government's flagship 24-hour economic policy to be launched today. 24-hour economy policy to be launched today. His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama is expected to launch the 24-hour economy policy today. So it takes effect from today, July 2. NPP was punished for failing to listen to Ghanaians. That's Eugene Boachi Entry again speaking there. NPP was punished for failing to listen to Ghanaians. Parliament approves $360 million World Bank facility to boost Ghana's economic recovery. Parliament approves $360 million World Bank facility to boost Ghana's economic recovery. SEC, that's the Security and Exchange Commission, warns public against unlicensed investment products promoted by News Ghana and Ghana News. SEC warns public against unlicensed investment products promoted by News GH and the Ghana News. Government struggling to meet GRNMA's demands. That's the Akim Oda MP speaking there. Akwesi Akwa, that's his name. He's the Member of Parliament for Akim Oda. And he says government is struggling to meet the GRNMA's demands. We know that the association has given a deadline, which is fast approaching, for the Health Committee and the government to engage on the way forward regarding their agreed conditions of service and its implementation. Recall that the association went on a strike, which strike had a dire consequence or impact on the health sector. And so we hope that the authorities will expedite this particular negotiation or discussion so that the nurses do not resume that strike. Okay, other story says, Mahama's economic management gets overwhelming approval. And this is according to a survey by Global Info Analytics. Then police, immigration, judiciary, top corruption perception rankings. Police, immigration, Judiciary top corruption perception rankings, and that's according to Global Info Analytics and a recent survey that they have carried out. So go online, citynewsroom.com, as well as channel1news.com, and you get the details of all these stories and several others. Stay with us here. This is Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV. I am Nana Tufo Boateng. We'll be right back with the news review segment. Let's get into the world of sports like never before.
You know how we do it on Fridays.
Join us every Friday at 7 p.m. on 97.3 City FM for Sports Panorama, your ultimate destination for all things sports.
One of the biggest scandals in this country's history. You can't spend 250 million USD and come out with that.
From the thrill of association football to the excitement of basketball, tennis, athletics, and even emerging sports, we cover it all. Whether it's the Premier League or the latest NBA showdown, we bring you the stories behind the stars.
Getting an opportunity to become a national team coach, you should understand the politics around football.
And don't miss the prayer of the rabbi.
Joe was Zebal.
How Zebal there?
Zebal won Chaboke.
We're not just about the games, we're about the community.
If you are going to be given this kind of treatment, then you need to be that guy. When I look at him play, he is not it.
Or when it's time for Don't Call Me.
Join
the conversation as we connect with fans across the country and beyond. Want the latest updates? Send us your thoughts and we'll feature your comments live on air. And remember, we like to hear your predictions for matches and your thoughts in general. Think you know who's going to win? Let us know.
Big shout outs to my YouTube people.
Tune in every Friday at 7 p.m. only on 97.3 City FM. Sports Panorama, where sports come alive. Sports Panorama, your weekly sports fix. Don't miss out on the action. Sports Panorama, catch the excitement every Friday.
Curious about what's happening beyond your borders? Beyond Borders takes you there. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Caleb Kuda as he explores the stories that shape our world, connecting you with Ghanaians in other cultures and seeing the world through their eyes.
So we've learned one thing: you leave your shoes outside. Wow.
Tuesday, you know, I won't go to Ghana dressed in a Lacoste.
As director of operations.
From international politics to the human stories that define nations, Beyond Borders brings you a fresh perspective of Ghanaians around the world, one conversation at a time. Beyond Borders with Caleb Kuda airs Wednesdays at 7 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Welcome. It's Play to Aid.
Get ready for the game show where every play has a purpose. Welcome to Play to Aid, the only game show where your knowledge and skill don't just win you prizes, they help change lives.
What sport is considered the most popular in the world?
Every point you earn goes toward real-world support, from school supplies to health kits, clean water to emergency relief. Play smart, play big, play to aid. Catch all the action, the drama, and the heat.
Most commonly spoken language in Brazil.
Portuguese.
Play to Aid every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Edna, let's begin.
The Play to Aid game show is proudly sponsored by Tang Palace, Giraffe Island, and VVIP.
In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline,
And I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensah.
From social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters, Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop Fred Crunchy Mensah.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
Hello there, grateful that you chose us. This is Channel 1 TV. The show is Breakfast Daily and it's time for the news review segment. My guests are seated. Let me say a quick good morning to them. To my immediate right, we have Nuong Falong. She's a member of the NDC's communications team. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you.
Good
Hope
to
I
have
didn't massacre the name.
Oh, no, it's fine. That's Secretary Nuong Falong. It's
Nuong
good to be
Falong.
here again
It rhymes.
after quite a while.
Yeah. We haven't
So
seen you. You've been busy with government business.
The usual.
Next to her is Engineer Michael Kosi Dede. Good morning, Engineer. Good to have you. And then we have Dr. Ezekiel Ajekum Obeng. He's a member of the NPP's communication team. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Good to have you. Your first time here?
Not really.
Okay, but first time sitting with me.
Sure.
Yeah, good to have you. All right, we have a number of issues to look at this morning. Hopefully, we're able to make judicious use of our time. But we're starting off with the suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. We understand the Attorney General has filed a motion against her judicial review application. I'll take a few paragraphs of a story we've carried online, channel1news.com, which says, AG seeks dismissal of CJ Tokonu's judicial review application at Human Rights Court. The story is by Abigail Arthur, and it reads, the Attorney General has filed an application at the Human Rights Division of the High Court, urging the court to strike out a judicial review motion initiated by the suspended Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokonu. In an affidavit sworn by Reginald Ni Odoi, a state attorney at the Attorney General's Department, the state asserts that the Chief Justice's motion is fundamentally flawed due to a grave misstatement of capacity and the non-inclusion of mandatory and essential parties, which it argues renders the application invalid. Now, the affidavit maintains that the matters raised by the Chief Justice are either already the subject of judgment or currently under the consideration of the Supreme Court. Among the cited cases are, there are a number of cases they've listed here. But according to the Attorney General, allowing the Human Rights Court proceed with the review would amount to overstepping judicial boundaries and conflict with the authority of the Supreme Court. Right, so these are a few paragraphs of the story as carried on channel1news.com. When you go online, you get the details there. Remember that the show is interactive. We'd like to hear from you. Send us your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions based on the discussions that will go on regarding these matters. Now, I'll start with you, Falong. The matter of the suspended CJ, you would agree that having been at the top when it comes to the judiciary in this country, it's not so easy having your way in court, despite having been the CJ. And if you watch how the issues have transpired, she went to Supreme Court and lost. She's actually facing some of her colleagues at the committee level, and she's come public with what she feels is an unfair treatment. Your take?
I just want to say good morning to Victoria, the lady downstairs. She cleaned up my face very nicely.
Right, job well done.
Yeah. Patrick gave me coffee. Thank you so much.
Right.
And the rest of the crew, thank you. We appreciate your work. This CJ's case has made me, I've been reading a lot of law. I think by the time...
becoming law students.
By the time the case is over, I'll qualify to be called a lawyer. I admire her right to defend herself. It is within her right to defend herself to the best of her ability, and that's what she's doing. I'm sure any of us accused would also attempt to defend ourselves successfully or not. But while I admire her right to defend herself, in the process of defending herself, let's avoid creating problems that infringe on the rights of other people also. We have seen her filing. Now, the Attorney General has come out to say that the application for judicial review that has been filed by the Chief Justice has some issues, which undermines its competence effectively before the courts. He hasn't said so in a vacuum. He's given about 3 or so reasons for which he says that. Now, let's look at the issues that the Attorney General has raised. He talks of a misstatement of capacity. And all judicial review applications must be brought in their correct legal forms. So the Attorney General is correct when he says that there is a certain failure there to join the necessary parties, because then you exclude them from responding in the capacities that they are acting. Although it's not a personal issue, they are acting by the authority of their offices. Now, when you exclude them and issues affect them, they cannot respond. So, I don't know, is she allowed to go back and make the amendments? I mean, that's up to the court. It also says that, I think he correctly evokes something they call judicial economy, right? He is pointing out that the matters that she has raised have either been already addressed by the Supreme Court or are presently pending before the Supreme Court, which is true. You know, some of these issues have already been struck out by the Supreme Court, but the substantive issue is still pending. You know, if the substantive issue is still pending before the Supreme Court, allow the apex court to decide. Now, when you take the issue to a lower court, right, because if you've taken the issue to the High Court, you are undermining the authority of the Supreme Court.
That's where the Attorney General says you are overstepping the judicial boundaries.
Exactly. Right, he's the lawyer. He understands the terms better than me. So if the issue has already been determined by the Supreme Court or is pending before the Supreme Court, exactly what do you mean by taking that same issue to the High Court? So let's assume that the High Court sits on the issue and passes judgment. Are you trying to say that we will uphold that over what the Supreme Court has said or is doing? I think in this case also, I completely agree with the Attorney General, right? Now, he also mentions that Article 146, the processes under Article 146 are insulated by the Constitution. They are clearly spelled out within the Constitution. Every single thing that is presently being done is governed by Article 146 of our own Constitution, 1992 Constitution. So it provides an investigatory committee and a very clear procedure that is being followed. Now, that procedure, it's outside the purview of lower courts. Okay, and lower courts, I mean that respectfully. So you cannot then take the dictates of Article 146 and set it aside and then take the issue to the High Court.
She finds fault with the processes under 146 currently underway.
So you mean she finds fault with the Constitution?
Well, not necessarily with the Constitution, but with the implementation of same, saying that currently the process she's being subjected to is unfair. She feels her rights are being trampled upon. And that's why she's gone to the High Court based on a human rights matter.
I've heard a lot about rights being trampled upon. I still haven't been told exactly which right is being trampled upon. I can argue that someone is doing something against me. But then you have to point at exactly what is being done against you, right? Are you saying that the state has no right to evoke Article 146.
It does.
Are you saying that any part of the procedure has been done wrongly? No. The procedure is being correctly followed. It's okay to be uncomfortable by the proceedings, but do the proceedings actually infringe on your human rights?
Well, according to her, it does.
There are also people who are aggrieved by things she has done, right? And they have also brought their petitions. Exactly. It is important that every person is accorded the respect of following through. You know, Article 146 also tells us that these proceedings should be held quietly in camera. They have already been breached by this whole press conference and exposing so much information, making so many allegations. What I was disappointed by during the press conference was, after the press conference, I was expecting
her to take questions.
Thank you. You know, after you make allegations, open yourself up to interrogation so that people also have the right to ask and get some clarity on the allegations that you have made. Otherwise, you have just come to make allegations against persons, which also infringes on their human rights, right? I could say, I mean, you have made allegations that are untrue, you know, because most of what she said are arguable, okay? Now, after you have made all, this is a serious matter. If you come out, you have decided to make the issue public. One of the reasons the former president struck out the previous petitions was because he said it was leaked on social media, right? On that basis, what happened? The entire thing was struck out. Now you come out, the CJ, who understands the provisions of Article 146 and the need for the strictness around that whole proceeding, comes out and puts all the information out there. Now, you finish doing that, you make allegations against people, you make a lot of statements, and you refuse to allow yourself to be interrogated by what you yourself have said. That is a little disingenuous for me. You know, submit yourself to, at least the journalists also want to. You can't, even if you decide to say the whole process is politicized, those journalists there are not politicians. They just have simple questions for you. That one too you cannot answer. Unfortunately, I do not find any merit in this judicial review, and I completely agree with the Attorney General.
Very well.
Ayene.
Very well. Engineer, let me pick your thoughts. The CJ has gone public with issues she feels, based on which she feels she's not being treated fairly. She raised a number of issues, even regarding the composition of the committee. She actually cited Justice Puamang in there. Even the venue for the hearings, she thinks, is deliberately to intimidate her and a host of others. Now she's in court fighting for her rights, and then the Attorney General is countering, saying, your thoughts?
Okay. I have heard a number of legal minds speak on some of the things that she's done, the press conference, and what she's seeking to do. And to the point that, one, it wasn't proper for her to come public, which violates Article 146. But the other one was that if she was aggrieved, she just simply needed to go to court, which she has now done. She didn't need to come public. She simply needed to go to court, which I agree with. But I think that the public engagement didn't help her.
Really?
No, I don't think it's helped her because, you see, seek to put out such a statement. So I think that those who seek to put out such a statement, so I think that those who held there or put that thing into the press release didn't help her cause. Because you are a chief, what do you call it, Chief Justice for that matter. You should know better. You have been at the practicing law for all these years. So I think that some of those things didn't help her. Now again, she makes complaints about Justice Puamang, which for me seems fair. But the question we ask again, as professionals in this country, is that a similar thing happened to Chachu Chikata.
Right.
When Justice Afre sat also on the Fast Track High Court, Chachu challenged the constitutionality of the Fast Track High Court.
Yeah.
And Justice Afre was empaneled to sit on the Supreme Court panel that ruled on that matter. Is that not a similar case that is happening here? Where was she and where was the Ghana Bar Association? What did they say about it? So for me, it's for us to develop as a country, professionals and professional associations need to be consistent with statements. We need to uphold the professional integrity and not turn when it suits us or when. And the over-politicization of every single issue in this country, for me, is worrying. Why is it that the government in power takes on a Chief Justice? Suddenly, the opposition thinks that it is their right to defend the Chief Justice. So for me, and that is how a lot of things get washed out in this country, and justice is not delivered. Because someone who may have held office is being tried, and suddenly a political party rises and says, no, 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 no. So the over-politicization of issues here doesn't help in the delivery of justice in this country. Because our political parties are too sensitive to the next election. So justice is not being delivered in this country, clearly. I mean, look at the number of corruption cases throughout the Fourth Republic. How many have actually been conclusively dealt with? Look at the current arrests that are going on. Look at the previous arrests that went on. How many people have really been prosecuted successfully?
It's the same old story.
The same old story.
The cycle goes round.
The cycle just goes round. So every government comes and then says, let's do this, and then the other party says, no. This is. So for me, justice delivery is being seriously undermined with all the actors that are involved here. Professionals, lawyers, our political parties, and state institutions are not behaving properly. So I think that that is a worrying thing for ordinary Ghanaians. How many Ghanaians would have had the privilege that the Chief Justice is having at this moment? Most ordinary Ghanaians, when they are caught or arraigned before the court, have very little defense because everything is about money. So you ask yourself, is justice for the rich? These are the things that worry ordinary Ghanaians. And I think that our political party, if they are really interested in serving the needs of the people of this country, need to look at their conduct seriously, both in government and out of government. And that is what I don't see playing out properly. Because the statements that were made before the NDC itself won political power lends credence to what the opposition also says, that you are seeking to remove the Chief Justice because you want to pack the courts. And clearly by the
nomination and
the
appointment
swearing of seven new justices, it lends credence to what the opposition is also saying. So I think that our conduct in government and our conduct out of government must serve the needs of the people of this country, rather than playing to political parties' interests. Because at the moment, all I see is that political parties are more interested in protecting themselves than developing this country. In the last 30 years, I mean, of multi-party democracy, what has ordinary Ghanaian gained? I keep asking this question. Apart from the political actors who have seemed to have accrued wealth and influence in society, what has the ordinary Ghanaian gained? And these are questions that should worry all of us.
Very well.
So in this matter, clearly, I think that we have not been consistent as professionals, lawyers in this country to defend the case, because Justice Afre's case was a typical example. And now she's also referencing Justice Paman. So I think that we need to get our acts together and act properly in this country.
Right. Dr. Jakum, I mean, I'm sure you must have listened to the suspended CJ or even read what she said. For me, it creates a picture of a broken judicial system. But if indeed it is, this is a system she superintended over. So is she a victim of that broken system?
It's quite unfortunate what we are experiencing. And I'll begin from the closing remarks of our senior on the table. The fact that certain utterances were made when the ruling government was in opposition. The fact that certain statements were made to the effect that NDC lawyers should start considering, taking appointments in the court, seeking to say that we need our people on the bench. Why would a political party even make such statements? Clearly shows that political parties would now have to parade or infiltrate the judiciary to suit them or to help them deliver, judgments when they believe it's in their favor. Otherwise, the law courts is a matter of records, is a matter of, legal arguments that need to be made. And if a case has merit, a judge would appropriately, rule. It's the last institution of hope. Clearly, politicians are elected to go to parliament. So there's some form of jostling here and there, competition here and there to get to parliament. The executive would have to campaign, as a political party, go into a full general election to be elected to become an executive. But the judiciary, aside appointments that are made to senior courts by the executive, it's, in quotes, an order of merit. If a judge deserves to be at the high court, if a judge deserves to be at the appeals court or the superior court, is a matter of merit. And when you are sent or you are put on any level of the judiciary or the bench, you are expected to work within the remit and the confines of the law. So when our strength fails us, we are told God will be there for us. So when Parliament fails us, when executive fails us, our last hope, our last resort should be the judiciary. So when you hear political actors and political parties actually preaching and encouraging their legal brains to take up positions at the bench, then clearly you can sense what, is the psyche of that political party. And that's exactly what we are seeing being played out, after the NDC took over.
Can same be said when the opposition party rises to defend a suspended CJ?
That's where we have a little difficulty. No one is rising to defend a suspended CJ.
We've seen the minority actually
we are making press conferences. We are having our opinions based on the procedures that are being held and the appropriateness, the rights, respect to people's rights, and whether or not we believe that people's rights are infringed upon. We talk of, the CJ coming out and having a public press conference, but we forgot that this particular trial was a public trial, more than a legal trial. Before she got hold of the petitions, it was already out there.
Really?
Political actors were speaking to the petitions and giving their own interpretations.
She's also been accused of leaking.
At a point, I thought indeed she had used state funds for a personal benefit. Because it was through political actors that we got to know that part of the petition was that she has used state funds, bought business class tickets, and paid her husband and her daughter to go on a vacation. So anyone hearing such twist would definitely try to, his or her judgment is going to be swayed and questions will be asked. But those that came with such allegations or those petitions, even at the time she had not received those petitions, we failed to tell us that she was entitled to a legal vacation or a private vacation for which she had the opportunity to send either of her relatives outside. And whatever the cost is borne or catered for by the state. But there were a lot of twists. Even before she received it, people were already speaking to it. Press conferences, political commentators and all that were speaking to it already. So it became a public trial more than a legal trial. And the AG goes to court and speaks of appropriateness of her new action at the High Court and whether or not he can or will be invited to make cases for himself and whatnot, and it's already been dealt with, or the matters already before the Superior Court of the adjudicature. So therefore, you shouldn't. So it speaks to propriety and appropriateness of legal processes. But have we been appropriate? Have we been, sensitive to the person in question? For example, what constituted a prima facie case? When the committee sat, the proceedings and decisions that were made for which the president was advised to say that, yes, there's a case to be answered. So therefore, a committee is going to be set up. She doesn't have records of those proceedings. Are we being fair to her? The rule to natural justice, is it being applied here?
That's one of the issues she raised.
So clearly, it is not a matter of the MPP or the opposition defending the suspended CJ. It's a matter of every well-meaning Ghanaian speaking to the appropriateness and the right to legal representation in its full force. Is the MPP behind the Ghana Bar Association? Clearly not. An independent legal brain that come together to have their say on national issues. what is the Ghana Bar Association saying? If they believe that the processes are right, if they believe that the processes are within the confines of the law, would you think they'll come out to come and make, in quotes, biased or ignorant statement to the effect that what is being done to the judiciary, for that matter, the Chief Justice, is an affront on our judicial system, and it set a bad precedent for the future. The fact that a government of the day does not agree with you means let's find means to get you out of the system. Is that what we are practicing as a country? It's not the MPP defending anyone. It's the MPP speaking to what is right. It's the MPP lending our voices to what we believe is within the dictates of our Constitution. No one is making any argument outside of Constitution. No one is making argument outside the rule of natural justice. If I don't know what constituted the reason why there's a committee interrogating me, how can I even defend myself? And I don't have right to ask questions. I don't have right to make requests for those things to be done to me. If a particular place is being used at any point in time at all within the legal process, that's already been activated. And I feel it has some historical, emotional precedence to it. And I'm subjected to relive those moments, those traumas. Can't I speak about it? So clearly, what has been said is what is playing out here within the processes. And the Imam at the celebrations yesterday rightly made it clear.
Yeah, the Shia Imam.
Yes, that we made a lot of statements. That the MPP then was packing the judiciary. And we needed to cap the judiciary. How many of those that we believed were too many are on retirement today? Aside the Chief Justice, who is suspended, we still have full complement of those that we believed were too many at the bench. Yet we come to power. And in less than 3 months...
A few of them will be leaving in the next few months.
Until then, we come to power, and within 6 months, we've added 7. So that's what the Imam was asking and was drawing the president's attention to yesterday. Are we walking the talk, or we are talking the walk? So clearly, it's not the MPP doing anything amorphous to defend the injustice. Rather, we believe in accountability. We believe that if anyone has anything to answer to the state, the person should answer. But within or without our party, we will speak to what is right. Within or without our party, we will defend people's rights. Remember our motto, development in freedom, which is born out of the spirit and soul of the Constitution. So if it's been done to the CJ today, and we all keep quiet, tomorrow, if it's been done to any of us, can we get the moral right to get up and speak against whatever process that is being meted out to anyone? So it's a matter of respecting people's rights. It's a matter of doing right by the people. It's a matter of going according to the Constitution, not hide behind the Constitution to perpetuate our political agenda and contradict all that we stood for or believed in when we were in opposition.
Very well. Let me come to you.
Yeah,
I noticed you've been jotting a few things. You have a response to this.
Of course,
Let's do this in 2 minutes.
I like that he says it's a matter of going according to the Constitution. We have gone according to the Constitution.
Yeah.
The process has adhered to the Constitution. In fact, all the distractors and detractors are the ones trying to push the process away from the constitutional provisions. The Constitution says one thing. You want to introduce your personal preferences. Preferences that satisfy you. Look, nobody is above the law in this country. True. Let's not create that kind of situation. He also mentions NDC politicizing the judiciary. And when you look at the Supreme Court judges, which of them was appointed by the NDC? Just one, right? The rest were appointed by Akufo-Addo. It is possible for me to also sit here and argue that you appointed them according to political affiliations. How do you prove it? It's not just, look, let's avoid sentimentality and sensationalism.
Okay,
let me land.
Let me land.
You want to make a correction?
Yes. I have not said anywhere that any of the 7 judges appointed today are affiliated to the NDC.
You
My
said
argument
NDC
was that
told their lawyers
based on what was said before.
Yes.
Then the NDC say that?
And I'm asking you, which part of it is politicized? The present lawyers that are being, judges that are being vetted, who have been vetted for the Supreme Court, one can argue that some of them are even MPP. It doesn't change anything.
Let's get the fundamentals right.
My whole point is that you are just alleging.
The reference I made with the statements that were made in opposition, that NDC lawyers should try to take up positions at the bench.
Right.
I am not saying it's mutually inclusive or is directly related to
But
the
if it cannot
judges.
be proven, then we cannot admit that statement.
Come on, let's get understanding.
If it has not been effected,
so it's an inference that can be made
from your actions.
Yes, I'm saying that. I'm not even making references here or references here. I'm saying that certain things were said, which speaks to politicizing the judiciary.
Right.
That is different from saying that the 7 judges today are of NDC persuasion.
Let's
distance.
So someone says something.
Those arguments.
Someone says something and doesn't act upon it. How does it make? How do you even bring that statement into this conversation?
Oh, goodness.
As something to use against the process of the CJ's removal. Look, as of last year, there were 33 judges in the appeals court. Today we have 53. Do you know who appointed them up to 53? Akufo-Addo. One of them is a known MPP guy. In fact, I could say some of them, but I don't know those other ones. The one I know, Poku Eduse, known MPP guy, he was on Facebook defending Akufo-Addo at every turn. He is one of the persons that was appointed.
Okay.
So if we are talking about the politicization of the judiciary, I think the MPP, look in the mirror first before you come out and accuse. So when you come out and accuse, give us evidence. I've given you evidence. You see, I've given you look, back in the day, it's the same MPP that used to tell us when you have an issue, go to court. Why are you running away from the court now?
Is MPP running away from the court?
The process is simple. Like the engineer mentioned, the CJ came out and held a press conference.
Let's get fundamentals right.
She listened to you when you were making your submission. When she's done, you can.
You are heckling me. I don't like it. When you were making your submission, I allowed you to.
No, please allow it.
Go ahead. I'll get an opportunity.
Yeah, you get opportunity to.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Go ahead.
Look, so when you come here and then you make an accusation, my simple point is, let's not get sentimental and emotional and say that because a process is not going according to our preference, it doesn't have to be comfortable to us. We have to submit ourselves to the judicial processes of this country, which remains supreme over personal preferences and personal emotions. The process is simple. Instead of coming out to do a press conference and make allegations that cannot even be substantiated to the point that you refuse to even take questions, why don't you go to court? You think that there's any issue against you. The process is at the Supreme Court. As a CJ, and the CJ knows all of these things. The issues that the Attorney General has raised, you can't tell me the CJ has no idea about some of these. Engineer even mentioned the issue relating to Edu Lodge. Sensationalism. Trying to court public sympathy without using the right facts. If you come out and you want people to have sympathy for you, I can understand that entire need. But can you remain factual? If she had submitted herself to questions by the journalists that were present, some of them, I believe, would have brought up this whole issue. You came and you made quotes, you stated a date, something that happened much later. You came and you twisted the facts. For what purpose? The same Edu Lodge, when it was renovated, was commissioned by Akufo-Addo. Was it in 2014 or 2024 or 2023, one of those? This is the same thing that you are accusing the NDC of using against you. In what way? How does it justify it? That's why I'm saying it's okay for you to fight a process that you think is being used against you. But can we remain committed to the facts? And when we accuse the NDC of trying to do anything to compromise the judiciary, let us first ask ourselves, where is the evidence? There's no evidence of such. Rather, there's evidence of the NPP putting their people at the appeals court and in other places. I have given you the data and I have mentioned one of them. Is it true or is it not true? Thank you.
Very well. Engineer.
Yeah. One of the things the suspended CJ said when she held a press conference was that she's been a legal practitioner for over 30 years. So again, I expected her to base her argument strongly on the position of the law. That argument about a do lodge, for me, was bogus. Why? Because you are using emotional appeal rather than law. You know how many people have suffered very traumatic experiences in our courts? So if today I were to go to court and I say, look, because of the traumatic experiences I've suffered in this court, you are bringing me here again so that I can be traumatized. So let's go to my house and have the trial there. I mean, how does that sound? So that argument about do lodge was completely bogus and unhelpful to her cause. And again, on the issue of Justice Afre, what was the MPP's position? Because it was President Jordan Jekun was in power. What was the MPP's position on that issue? Did they issue you see, consistency, and that's why I say all our political parties and legal minds have to be consistent. What was their position on Justice Afre's issue? Because again, Chachu raised issues of what we call when you have power to make certain decisions, that decision must not be seen to be unfair to the people you are making that, the persons you are making that decision about. What was the MPP's position? What was the Ghana Bar Association's position on that? It was a legal matter, very well argued, but they kept quiet. Then subsequently, the same Ghana Bar Association told us, oh, they are on leave. They don't talk politics anymore. Suddenly, another party is in power and they are beginning to talk again. You see, these are the I think that professional bodies in this country have failed this country. Yes, not just the Ghana Bar Association. I think professional bodies need to set up and hold their members and uphold their own profession. We can't be flip-flopping like that. So we need to be consistent if we want the profession to be respected. To be flip-flopping doesn't help us. So I think that on this whole saga that is going on, one, our political parties need to be consistent. On matters of policy. They need to behave right and do right by the people. Our professional bodies also need to act properly and stop misbehaving and flip-flopping when it suits them. When one time you are on leave, another time you are active. I mean, how do you expect the NDC to respond to that? So clearly, these are not things that we should take lightly as a country.
Sure. Thank you. Doc.
Let's get this fundamental very right. I do not know the political leaning of any judge. And it will be unfair and inappropriate on my part to sit anywhere and say that any of the 7 judges appointed today belong to a particular political party. I've not seen their membership card. I've not seen them contributing to anything political. If other people believe that certain judges at whichever level of our judiciary are known MPP people, I mean, clearly, I believe the person has his own foundation for saying that. Secondly, the MPP is not in court. To suggest that if the MPP is uncomfortable with something, we said in the past that we can go to court. So MPP should go to court. MPP is not under trial here. So how can MPP go to court? It's the person in question. And we are speaking to an issue. And the person is trying her case outside of the committee, partly in court as well. That's what the person is doing. The CJ is not MPP. MPP is not a CJ. We are speaking to procedures. We are speaking to legal issues. We are giving our opinions on what is transpiring at the hearing and what we are told and what we hear or know. And we are making references to, past comments. And we are asking if those comments or beliefs then have been adhered to today. And I made reference to what the Imam said yesterday, that we believe the Supreme Court had too many judges and we needed to cap them. Without any of them on retirement, we've added 7. And we are asking, are you walking the talk? Those are the questions we are asking. So bringing back what was said in opposition and trying to ask questions today does not tantamount to trying to politicize or politically colorize any judge. We won't do that. We believe in strong institutions. We believe in rule of law. As a party, we will not sit anywhere and make claims that certain people of the respected courts or benches are part of any political leaning. But of course, when issues come, and it's a matter of public proceedings, rule of law, procedures, we will definitely speak about those issues and what we believe in. We will not unnecessarily politicize issues. We will not come and sit to defend people simply because we believe or have suspicion that they belong to us. That's not what we are doing. And the NPP is not under trial. And once again, whatever is being done to anyone today, ask yourself, if it were to be me and the same thing being meted out to me, would I wish other people come on board to speak for us? If it's been done to me today, my brother, and you don't speak against it, tomorrow, if it's been done to you, would you even call for help for people to listen to you? The matter became a public trial before the whole proceeding started. And like I said, the petition was not known to the person in question, yet political commentators and actors were speaking to the petition. Whatever constituted the prima facie case, proceedings and decisions that was made before the full activation of the process is not known to the person.
There's a message here that is challenging this position of yours. And it says, I think the NPP rep, Ajekumobin, is twisting the facts on the petition leakages. The Communications Ministry of the Presidency informed the public on the 3 petitions received by the President. The CJ then wrote to the President requesting the copies of the petitions.
So we are saying the same thing.
Right. No, but before the President could receive the petitions, the CJ had leaked her letter to the media. The President replied and cautioned the CJ of the leakage to the media and labeled his response confidential, notwithstanding that after the CJ had received the petitions, well, you mentioned a radio station, it's not for me to mention the same, started serializing them on air. And this guy says, this is the chronology of the case. This is Rex from Ashoman. And he's challenging this position of yours.
Before the CJ even requested to be furnished with the petitions, we had political commentators speaking to the petitions.
No. I think, just as this comment is saying, when
so
the
now
president,
you
even
see
as
it
the
right.
president,
You see it right to come here for last week.
even
I'm very tolerant when it comes to these things. I mean, but when it was being done to you, you didn't like it. You can come in.
Like
I said, it's a non-political issue.
Yeah, it's a fact
it's a non-political issue
now as to who began the commentary on the petitions first.
We had it before she even requested for it.
You did before she
requested for it. And then after the request was made, well, later, I mean, we saw some on social media, obviously, but people were speaking to it before she requested for it.
Can I say something?
Yeah, you can come in. You can come to a national discussion.
You heard it from where? And which people were speaking to it? Were these NDC communicators? Because I had no knowledge of it. People at Jubilee had no knowledge of the contents of these petitions. I think that some of these persons were referring to the previous petition, because there was a petition from last year.
Which persons?
The petition from last year. A lot was discussed on social media. I saw social media discussions referencing petitions
based on the petitions
from the
sent to Akufo-Addo?
Yes, previous petitions that were sent to Akufo-Addo.
So now you believe. So now you believe that whatever, if anything was said at all, it was based on previous petitions.
That is my whole point. So it was not leaked from anywhere. The NDC, the presidency, nobody leaked it. If anything was leaked, in fact, there were suspicions of NPP persons who leaked some of them. Their names I cannot mention because this is a legal matter. But we have the information of who tried to leak. In fact, the first person who even leaked it was a lecturer. You see, and who did, we don't know if the CJ, because the CJ is finished with it, right? She has to defend herself. We don't know if she decided to show it to someone, the person decided to also leak it. That is entirely up to them. But we cannot accuse anyone else of leaking it.
Very well.
For any purpose. It was surrounded in the secrecy that is supposed to be.
And recap what I was saying. It's not a banter between MPP and the government. It's not a banter between the MPP and any political faction. It's a matter of what we believe to be an injustice being perpetuated against a sitting Chief Justice. And if someone of a caliber, a head of an arm of government, is being subjected to this, we will be flies in front of such I mean, outlets. We will be flies. That's the CJ.
Right.
What of you, my brother? What of me? Today we might be in government and we believe that whatever is being done, even if they are not appropriate, is right. because we are in government and we need to defend whatever position, action or inaction of the government of the day. But tomorrow, if you're on the other side, we will still speak against it.
Very well. Very well. I take this message that says, Mr. Kosidede has hit the nail right on the head. The ruling party, even before the assumption of power, bastardized the judiciary to the extent of promising to overhaul the judiciary. It is therefore only logical to conclude that the suspension of the CJ is just a political fulfillment rather than fulfillment of the demands of the Constitution. This is Pascal Dunyo from FIFE who sent that one in. Let's move on to other matters, and I want us to look at the arrest of the former Bufferstock CEO. The minority is criticizing the Yoko boss over bail conditions for Abdul Wahab Hanan and his wife. Bail, we understand, is set at 60 million and 30 million cedis respectively. Now, the question here is that he's not gone beyond the 48-hour rule. He has set, or the Yoko, if we say he in this the context, I'm referring to Yoko, has set, well, they've given these suspects bail. It's just that these bail conditions have not been met, for which reason they are still in detention. Engineer, let me start with you on the matter of the accusation that the bail conditions are set, for want of a better word, outrageously to prolong detention.
Well, I have not familiarized myself with the law that created Yoko. But if I haven't heard any argument about whether Yoko can set those bail conditions. So I would rather say, let's look at the issue of fighting crime and issues of trying to deter people from committing acts of corruption and crime in this country. So Yoko comes in, and some of the arguments I hear from the MPP again is the style in which the guy was arrested. And I think that, again, our state institutions need to learn to act professionally. For instance, I asked myself, what has happened to the guy who slapped Sam George during the elections in Ayawaso?
West Wogo.
Exactly. Was that professional behavior? What did people say about it? People went quiet. When Delta Force ambushed a judge in Kumasi, what was the response of people? You see, when state institutions are empowered, it is for us to learn to act professionally within those contexts. Because when the state deploys against an individual, you can't fight it. It's difficult. When the state deploys against you, it's difficult to fight. So I would want the state institutions, Yoko, all the other ones, to, when they are going to arrest, don't make it this Rambo style. Now you see all these security people now walking around with masks, guns, and bullets. I mean, I think, why? Do we need to be dressed like that? As though we're in a combat situation? No. People should be able to go ahead and say, look, these are allegations against you. We're inviting you to come to Yoko. Let's deal with it. I think
the other argument is that these invitations, most often, and when they are sent, when calls are made, the suspects refuse to honor these invitations.
Well, then that is bad, because and this is why I think that we as individuals and as citizens should realize that when the state is deploying against you, there's nothing you can fight it. You can't fight it.
No.
So when the state invites you, honor it, so that we avoid some of these things. I think that it is not proper. But let's go beyond this immediate arrest and the bail conditions and look at the issues of actually fighting corruption. As I sit here, I've heard I think the Minister of Agri talking about the fact that the NDC is going to activate the Nkukon Ketin agenda. And that the only thing that is holding it back is they are going to procure batteries for the people. That is immediately a procurement thing. What is the plan? Where is the transparency involved in that process? So you see, when I say that corruption begins with transparency, fighting corruption begins with transparency. Let's not wait till the horses run out of the barn and we go chasing them. So even as the NDC is in power today, they should begin through transparent processes to show us that they are willing to deliver on issues of fighting corruption. So even as you say, we are going to buy batteries for the Nkukon, show us the transparency. Who are the people who are going to bid for that contract? Let's not one day wake up and say, oh, the batteries have been procured. We have started the program. But the process of procuring those batteries is important. Then the Minister for Roads has said that they are going to build new toll booths and that they are going to equip it. It's going to be the most efficient in the whole of Africa. What is the procurement process? By now, the minister should have come up with a timetable that we want to implement this by January 2026. By this date, people who are interested should put in 10. The process should be transparent. You see, the way our governments behave, we as citizens need to be challenging it. We can't wake up one day and then we say, oh, toll booths are being constructed, the contract has been awarded. To who?
We run a procurement economy, and that's basically where the challenge is.
That is my worries. Everything is about procurement. We make it look as if that is what is going to solve our problems without thinking through long term. So again, if you listen to the Minister of Finance, he's giving a directive to the assemblies. They should construct 24-hour markets. Where is that coming from? Where is that coming from? So I think that our government should not pretend to be fighting corruption by chasing horses that are run out of the barn. They should be demonstrating while they're in government the transparency processes that they have put in place, even when it comes to procurement. What are the long-term discussions on this? They should go and build CHIPS compound. When the previous government has started 100 and something hospitals and most of them are not completed, why don't we put our money into completing those projects?
The Agenda 111?
Exactly. You see, at the end of all this, it is not the politicians' money that is being spent. It is the ordinary taxpayers' money that is being spent.
Right.
So our government should not act as though the monies that they are using is coming from their pockets. It is the taxpayers' money. And therefore, they should act in a way that will demonstrate that they are spending our money judiciously on our behalf, rather than seeking procurement where they can award contracts to cronies and friends and then come back and tell us that then the next government says we are chasing them. I mean, where is that leading us? So, please, our attempts to fight corruption must begin with transparency, even as the government is acting now. And not be throwing dust in our eyes with all these arrests and saying we are pretending to be... I mean, we've seen this with the previous government. Right. We've seen this with the previous government. Right. So they should give us a break and act properly.
Doc, on the issue of Abdul Hanan and his wife and bail conditions and, of course, detention.
So clearly, it comes back to the previous topic we were discussing, that what we seem to be doing to other people simply because we have power. Arresting people in Rambo style. Senior has spoken to how, state security agencies even dress or portray themselves during such arrest. The Rambo style, the show of brute, the show of power, the show of force in getting people to their destinations. Clearly, it's just to show that, yes, we are in power and we need to show you where power lies. And then you are gone and you are detained beyond the 48-hour rule that we all know, simply because certain bail conditions quite huge that you can't even come out of it, and you are asked to bring 2 extra people as sureties.
Well, you're giving bail before the 48 hours expire.
Exactly.
It's just that you are unable to meet the conditions.
And it is deliberate.
You think so?
How would you set 15 million Ghana cedi bail on someone? 15 million Ghana cedi.
Irrespective of the quantum involved in the crime being investigated?
We are not privy to the crime.
That's the alleged crime. Know what the charges are.
But 50 million Ghana cedi. How much do we even need to build one hospital in Ghana?
How much did one Agenda 111 cost?
Very, very, very cheap, actually. And it was all locally generated funds.
Very well.
Clearly. So it's just show of brute. And like the minority said yesterday, let's at least realize that we are leading a state agency. Tomorrow you might not be there. Someone else might be there. Tomorrow your government might not be in power. So using state agencies to settle scores, using state agencies to sort of punish people, seemingly, using state agencies to show people where power lies, clearly does not bode well for our democracy. We need to live beyond that.
You can go to court to vary the bail conditions.
You now have to go to court to vary the condition. We saw the case of Chairman Wontumi and what transpired. Were they all necessary? Is that how to build strong institutions? By showing brute, by showing force, by showing power? That's not how to build strong institutions. We are not against accountability, once again. If anyone has said in any capacity, and the state believes the person has questions to answer, so be it. But let's do that knowing that we are rather serving people. Is that how to serve? Carrying guns and armor cars and bulletproof, masks. Clearly, and invading people's homes, arresting them. Clearly, we can do better. We are only asking for fair process.
Right.
We are only asking for fair trial. We are only asking that when you suspect or believe someone has questions to answer, at the end of the day, we are humans.
Very well.
And we should do it within the confines of the law, but knowing that we don't overstep our bounds. We don't necessarily try to create something that will make it even more difficult for the person to even activate his or her right. Where am I going to get a 50 million Ghana cedi with 2 sureties as bail conditions? Clearly, 50 million Ghana cedi for one person, plus my wife, 30 million, making 80 million Ghana cedi. It can transform a whole community, clearly. Yet, it's been put on my head to bring other 2 sureties before I can even walk out after taking my statement. Before I can walk out. Come on, we can clearly do better. But the show of brute and force, we will do all these things and go and thank God on 1st July. What are we thanking God for?
We'll come to
By suspending CJs, what are we thanking God for?
We'll come
By
to
using state institutions to intimidate and brutalize people, what are we thanking God for? By, suspending or writing off people's employment, 30,000 Ghanaian youth, what are we? If you do all these things,
we'll get to that.
Then go and assemble
we'll
to say that we are thanking God for all the brutalities we've meted out or visited on our own people, not even foreign nationals.
Very well, Doc. Thank you. Fallon, I'll come to you, but let me take a quick break. When we come back. Yeah, I noticed that she has a lot to say. She's been taking notes. So I'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from Fallon on this matter of bail conditions and alleged prolonged detention. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV. We'll be right back.
Across Africa, food and agribusiness hold the power to transform economies. But potential alone is not enough. That's why Impact Food Hub proudly presents the Agri-business Launchpad and Accelerator Program, Ghana's premier agribusiness accelerator program, created to turn bold food ideas into market-ready brands. At the forefront of this initiative is Dr. Mavis Oreku Asare, a renowned food scientist and a passionate advocate for food safety and agribusiness innovation. With a track record of empowering entrepreneurs and improving food systems, her vision for Launchpad 2025 is bold, practical, and transformative. From July 9th to 12th, participants will converge at the Stanbic Bank Business Incubator at Silver Star Towers in Accra for an intensive 3-day training and field day immersion designed to provide hands-on experience across the agri-food value chain. The program will be facilitated by seasoned experts with proven expertise in smart and sustainable farming, food product development and value addition, regulatory certification and compliance, digital marketing and brand positioning, financial management, pricing strategies, and funding access. Participants will also benefit from guided pitch coaching, mentorship with industry leaders, peer networking opportunities, and access to post-program business advisory services. Launchpad 2025 is powered by Impact Food Hub in partnership with Stanbic Bank and the Ghana Export-Import Bank. Whether you're a farmer looking to add value, a youth-led food startup, an agri-business ready to scale up, or a food tech innovator, Launchpad 2025 is your gateway to growth, visibility, and impact. Register now at impactfoodhub.mhon2.com or dial *899*10# on all networks. Call 025-689-9305 for more information. Launchpad 2025, your agri-business reimagined. Impact Food Hub. Get to the heart of it.
So welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily here on Channel 1 TV. We're having a conversation regarding the arrest and detention of the former CEO of the Buffer Stock Company and his wife. Fallon, you have, yes. you yes, get to...
I think that we all want this country to work. And we want to move away from that era of impunity, that era of zero accountability that we witnessed in the last 8 years, where the government was clearing people, became a clearing agent, where government was even accused of being the mother serpent of corruption. There were many accusations made against government appointees that the former government failed to follow through and investigate. All it ever did was simply just clear them and release them of any wrongdoing and any crime. What did that do? That gave us a system of impunity where people in public office failed to understand that public office is not private property and engaged in all sorts of activities that caused financial loss to this state. We have situations where, Kofi Juma is accused of buying a $100,000 car for 4,000 cedis. Even Aboboya is not 4,000 cedis. We've had these problems. The previous government swept them under the carpet. And now the poor NDC is faced with cleaning up the mess that the MPP should have cleaned up. You created this mess. And now there are so many pressing governance issues that NDC should be focusing on in just half a year in government. We have to worry ourselves with getting accountability for the people of Ghana. Why didn't you do that job? Why did you create such a big problem for us to come and solve? That is what we are dealing with right now. Engineer was referring to the legal foundation where Yoko is concerned. Yoko has a constitutional mandate. Under the Yoko Act 2010 Act 804, Yoko is empowered to investigate and prosecute financial crimes. So the state has done its due diligence in this situation. It is attempting to protect the public purse and uphold some dignity in public office. I think that sometimes we don't have to fight everything just because the opposition party is doing it. The buffer stock is a vital institution in this country. A lot goes through there. We cannot make it seem like anyone can sit in that office and get away with it. Engineer made some reference to procurement issues. I think that these are genuine concerns. The information is easy. Under the Right to Information Act, you can request some of this information from any of the ministries. I have seen sometimes some of these procurements published in the papers for people to be able to bid for them. So most of it is open and fair. If there's further information needed to that effect, you can simply put in a request. Yes, exactly. These bail conditions, I think, are proportionate to the crime. Legally sound bail conditions. When it comes to financial crimes, strict bail conditions are encouraged where large sums are being investigated.
In this case, we do not even know what they are being held for.
No,
give it
money
time.
laundering, tax evasion, and there's another one, causing financial loss.
And this is
three issues.
This is for Buffer Stocks, the former CEO, right? But have we been told the figures or the sums so that we can do the correlation
it's
between
a
the
developing
bill?
Story. All the information will come out, right? The accused has not been held beyond his rights. Bail conditions have been set. If you cannot meet the bail conditions, you have a lawyer. Let your lawyer apply to vary the bail conditions. He referenced the case of Wontumi. It was a similar thing, but they were so busy, focused on chaotic demonstrations and vigils. Vigil that lasted just a few hours. Vigil, let's be serious, please. Look, if you had followed the process, he would have been out in due time. But while some of them were applying to vary the condition, some of them were already bragging that they can meet the condition. There are a lot of big men in the MPP, apparently, who have a lot of money. So if they are going to be defending everyone who is accused, so basically they are telling us that we shouldn't pursue crimes committed against the country. Are the people in the MPP not Ghanaians? Don't they want to see this country do well? So if people have been accused of corruption, of financial crimes, can't we at least follow the process and find out, are these persons guilty or not? None of us is pronouncing guilt. We are just saying, let us follow the process. If doctor is accused tomorrow, just because I know him doesn't mean that I'll be demonstrating for his release. I will also want to understand exactly why you have been accused. I will want to understand the details. As a well-meaning Ghanaian whose interest is in protecting the public purse, not defending the image of a party that has already failed Ghanaians and dragged Ghanaians to some of the worst governance we have ever seen in this country. I think the bail conditions are legally sound. His lawyers know what to do if they have an issue with it. I hope they will not engage in the same chaotic behavior that they did in the case of Wontumi, to the extent of assaulting a journalist. We all saw it on TV. We don't want to see that again, I mean, in this country, please. Yoko's independence must be respected. They are investigating a crime. They should see it to the logical conclusion. This accused gentleman, former CEO of the buffer stock, he has not been stopped from exercising his rights. He has complete access to a lawyer. If he sees any issue wrong with the process, please go to court and vary your bail conditions.
Very well. Doc, quick response in a minute. Go round the table one more time and then we'll
the NPP is not against accountability. We've said this countless times. And yesterday, the minority during the presser also made it clear that we are not against accountability. So I can see what my sister wants to do today with impugning motives here and there. The NPP is not against accountability. And as to whether the government has failed, I mean, you've given an opportunity to do what is expected or what is better. And the scorecard at the end of the day will be delivered as to whether indeed you gave head teachers monies to go to the dummy market to buy food stuff for schools, as to whether, I mean, Ghanaian youth will be given opportunity to run 3 shifts for one work or for one job, as to whether the Ghanaian youth will attend university for free, as to whether we would have tankers or polytank or water reservoirs on Abobo years to irrigate our farms, like you said, as to whether you would turn the country into the heaven you promised. And we have 6 months. You say you are going to build 600 chip compounds. The Ghanaian will give the scorecard. In the end, the campaign on providing jobs for the youth, already 6 months down the drain, we are told that what the vehicle that rather is going to help you get job and put money in your pocket is demanding for $40 billion. You read a whole budget and freezed employment in the public sector. That's what the Ghanaian is after, the young man on the street. You read the whole budget and placed a ban on all capital-intensive projects. We have hospitals that were started by the previous administration, which are in the bushes and the trenches. That's what the Ghanaian is after. You promised to bring Kenke down to 1 cedi. The Ghanaian wants to know that the Kenke, how far after 6 months? Are we buying it at 4 cedi with the confidence that by the end of your tenure, by the end of the 4 years, we are going to buy Kenke at 1 cedi? The Ghanaian wants to know how much were we paying for utility bills? You've increased water and electricity alone by the tune of over 16.75% in just 6 months, impoverishing the Ghanaian. You took away 1 cedi e-levy and you've introduced 1%. And you've introduced 8% on every 100 cedi for you are going to buy, which we are told we are going to start from 16th July. That is what the Ghanaian is after.
Thank you.
So in the end, the Ghanaian will also give their scorecard. Whether or not you came to make them better or further impoverish them. With the celebration of VAT and taxes we experienced yesterday, and deliberately organized some prayers to cover up all the taxes, all the taxes that were I mean, insensitively.
You seem to think it was a diversionary tactic.
It was clearly a diversionary tactic.
We'll get it. But let me pick your next final thoughts on this bill conditions.
Yeah, again, my focus will not be on the bail condition again, because I think that the agency is in protecting what is in the ban now than going after the horses after they are fleet. So when my colleague says there's a right to information bill, true. But the question we should be asking is, the people who say we are going to be accountable, transparency and accountability, what are they themselves doing openly to show that they are being transparent? It's important. You don't want every citizen to now go and line up a right to information bill, give me this information. No. You yourself must demonstrate that I'm being open and transparent.
Right.
That is where it begins from.
Right.
Now, when you say you're going to build CHIPS compounds, what is the data that informs the building of the CHIPS compounds? Is it just throwing out, oh, let's go and construct? Because again, it's about procurement.
Right.
Look, we must be sincere with ourselves. When the previous government came in, the compounds that were being built, well, a lot of them were left in the bushes. Who is going to pay for it? We as citizens are going to pay for it. So in the same spirit, we should not allow the hospitals that they have started
Agenda
to go
111.
waste.
Yeah.
We should be focusing on completing those projects.
And that's our challenge, where our policies don't transcend political
in
parties.
fact, I disagree with some of the sightings of those hospitals, but it's been started.
Yeah.
So let's complete them. Let's complete them. Let's make the necessary effort to complete this project.
Very well.
Rather than go on. Where are the nurses to support the CHIP compounds? We are fighting with nurses. I mean, let's be sincere. Let's look out there and say, what can we do to uplift the standard of living of the people of Ghana? Rather than seeking procurement contracts all the time. I mean, we are not treating Ghanaians properly. So that is why a lot of Ghanaians, again, per the statistics from the Ghana Statistics Service, Ghanaians are losing confidence in the democratic process. And we should give them hope. Rather than this idea of everyday procurement. Let's go and procure this. Let's go and procure that. I'm saying, what is the data that informs the 600 CHIPS compound that they want to set up? Where is the data? The government shouldn't just come up and throw out as we want to build this. Just like they threw out as we are going to build 100 and something hospital. On what basis? Where are the doctors? Where are the nurses to provide the services? How do, even the current hospitals that exist, how do we support them? You go to almost all the public hospitals and they are deficient in facilities, services. So let's look at improving the system rather than throwing out procurement contracts all the time.
Very well, thank you. Fallon, you have a final take on this?
Yes, I just wanted to say where Agenda 111 is concerned, there was an initial estimation of the project. And it was estimated to be completed by what, 2022?
Yeah, that's
After putting more money than initially budgeted into the projects and citing them, one of the issues mentioned that these cases, you still came back to tell us that what? We needed even more money to complete some of these structures with very little work done. Civil society, well-meaning Ghanaians have raised questions about where the monies went. Your party has still not answered to us where some of those monies went.
Agenda 111.
There is yes, there's a lot. There are a lot of calls for audits into Agenda 111. That is another issue that will be tackled.
That's where you're going next.
The audits, there will be auditing of how money was spent. And then we will have to answer.
We are going to spend the next 4 years
doing audit.
We are going to spend the next 4 years doing audit.
Well, where there was crime, it has to be investigated.
I mean, go ahead.
Where there was crime, it has to be. We can't just say that it's passed, so we should leave it to them. You see, otherwise, anyone can commit crime, and once their party, is done, we say that, oh, it's in the past.
It's in the past.
No, clearly not.
Clearly not.
The excuse that perhaps, if that's the inference, the excuse that the hospitals are not being worked on is because of a pending audit, really. We heard the finance minister. The finance minister, when he came to Parliament, did not tell us that they are putting the projects on hold because of any audit. He said any capital-intensive project is on hold, including roads.
Yes, because so you have to audit to understand the way forward.
He has a similar situation with
I'm not saying that's what he said. The point I'm making is where there is heavy expenditure, you cannot just jump in and
Okay.
start
So
spending money just because the MPP said that this is how much.
When are we going?
Yeah. You don't just jump. Let me quote
I'm not sure she can answer that.
flag bearer. If we do everything now, what
What
will we
would
do
you
tomorrow?
okay.
So you
are waiting.
it will be done.
2028.
It's only half year. Can you give us some breathing? It's only 5-6 months in. Allow things to be done properly. There's a lot already going on.
Let me take
Then
a
Ghanaians can feel the relief. And let me just touch on these electricity tariffs that he mentioned. Don't forget that the MPP dragged us to the IMF after your finance minister. We're a proud country. We are never going to the IMF. You told us the next day you took us.
So the MPP is home and is increasing electricity.
No. I'm just trying to mention. Let me.
There's a ripple effect of the agreement.
No,
so
the MPP signed an agreement with the IMF.
And you are implementing the agreement.
Governance is a continuum.
So you are continuing.
Listen,
you are going to continue to increase electricity
because
bills.
we are still on the IMF program.
So you are going to continue to increase electricity bills.
What did you sign with the IMF?
No,
you signed a quarterly adjustment.
So you are going to increase electricity quarterly.
That's the quarterly adjustment only an upward.
You see,
is it only an upward
review? Adjustment. I didn't say it has to be an upward review.
Yeah.
If there's supposed to be a downward review, I am sure that.
So far, we've not seen anything downward.
We've not seen anything downward, really.
Electricity. What have we seen downward?
It's just been one adjustment.
Let me take
two adjustments.
Listen, what I'm trying to tell you is that we are in this situation because of the actions of the MPP who signed the adjustment.
So the MPP is home and has given a template to NDC to increase electricity.
It is your party that said that government will adjust quarterly. You signed the document and pushed it on the NDC.
So the take home is that
we're already under adjustment.
So to the message to the people of Ghana today is that brace yourself for quarterly increment of electricity bills because the MPP has given a template to the NDC to continue.
That's what she's saying.
That's my personal inference. That's my personal inference.
Very well. Let me take a few messages and then we'll move on to National Day of Thanksgiving and Prayer. You seem to be so interested in that one. We'll get there. This one says, Koside Day is speaking to the fact of polarization and partisanship in the Judiciary and the GBA Association. I think Ejekumo Bain was young when the MPP made disparaging remarks about Charlotte Osei before the 2020 elections and swore to remove her when they get to power. They fulfilled their promise when they actually won elections presided by the same Charlotte Osei under the same Article 146. This is Rex from Ashoman. Again, he says, it's strange how politicians cry wolf when they are in opposition but become deaf when they are in power, especially with the use of the same law enforcement agencies. MPP is now crying wolf and have suddenly forgotten the cries of others to them when they had power. The unfortunate lives of the 8 innocent Ghanaians are still crying for justice. Gregory Afoko suffered 10 years of injustice, even though he obtained bail in a country where every offense is now bailable. This one says, I must say I like the unbiased approach of engineer. However, just as he finds police officers effecting simple arrest wearing masks wrong, he should find trial location a form of torture. He can check the UN human rights definition of torture and he will see location as part. Imagine being interrogated near a lion's den. Or imagine his professional group conducting professional misconduct investigation at Insaon prison yard. CJ's removal process is a judiciary process and it should not be done outside of the judicial facilities. That's Kwame J. Asante. Alai Baba in Medina says MPP petitioned for the removal of Loretta Lamte Shraj by triggering Article 146. MPP triggered Article 146 on EC boss Charlotte Osei and her deputies. Article 146 was triggered for the removal of judges and Ghana Bar Association was completely silent, even with the removal of judges. And now GBA wants to cry wolf over same Article 146 over Justice Tokonu. The Ghana Bar Association should treat all independent constitutional bodies equally because although car starter is very important, without battery, the car cannot move. That's Alai Baba speaking there. Well, yesterday was a big one, a historic day in Ghana. National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. We saw the Christian service in the morning and then the Muslim service in the morning. For me, it was a beautiful, well-planned event. The orchestration and everything quite beautiful. But for you, relevant or not?
The Bible even says that in all things, you should give thanks to God. So if you believe in the scriptures, obviously, even when you lose a loved one, what we are told to comfort us, that God knows best.
Or even when you lose an election, you go on a thank you.
Even when you displace Ghanaian youth from rightful job they've secured. So we are told to give thanks to God in all things. So yes, a country coming together to offer prayers. In a sense, it's not bad. We need the direction of God in everything we do. But in seeking the face, in thanking Him, then we need to take stock of our own actions and inactions. In the face of thanking God, we have over 30,000 Ghanaian youth who went to school, were not lazy, passed their exams, did their national service, stayed at home, wanted jobs, went to the same God and prayed for opportunity not to become a burden to their families and loved ones. And God listened to their cries. God gave them jobs, well applied for, well interviewed, and well given appointments. Only for us to come back and sack them. And after that, we go and say, thank you, God. We have Ghanaians today who in the past were not even paying for mock exams. Today, they are paying for, BCE. And we are back to thank God for letting Ghanaians pay for something that governments were supporting them with. We can talk of what's the injustice being done to the Chief Justice. Yet we go back and thank God. So it's necessary in all things as believers to thank God. And if we all had opportunity and we couldn't make it to the premise, in our own small ways, in our own quarters and cubicles, we should join the state to thank God. And one particular thing I was very happy about is that our democracy is growing and the MPP is leading the way, that the MPP did not shy away from such public events. Hitherto, in the past, we organized state functions and visibly absent our brothers and sisters of the NDC persuasion.
You just had to go there.
But even when the former president could not make it, a video was made and he encouraged the country, added his voice and said it was a good thing that we all came together to pray. So the MPP's presence yesterday, including the minority, to help the state in thanking God was very, very commendable. At least we've moved on. But in thanking God, the same people who are displaced from their jobs with the mental health they are going through today also went to the same God to pray before they were given jobs. So let's go back to the God they prayed to and the God we are thanking today and ask the same God whether or not it was right to have done to them what we did to them.
Thank you. Fallon, were you there?
He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. I am particularly happy that we had that beautiful event. I was held up with other assignments, so I wasn't present. But I watched it. I watched the Christian service and the Muslim service. I am glad to have seen the MPP there to help us thank God. And I want to thank President Mahama for creating a conducive environment, for being inclusive in his governance approach, such that the opposition is not afraid to show up at such public events organized by the NDC. President Mahama's approach has been very reconciliatory, very easy, warm to everyone. We even saw him having dinner with the pensioners whose monies that the MPP decided to take in their debt restructuring.
The DDP.
When they were giving people haircuts, taking monies from the mouths of pensioners who had worked their whole lives. Imagine working your whole life. Poor teacher, poor doctor, poor nurse somewhere. And at the end of it, they tell you that government has come to touch your money. You must be a very sinister government to think that it's okay to touch the money. Some of those people died. Their blood is on your conscience. A lot of people suffered in the last 8 years. So for me, I see a lot of reason to thank God and praise God. We should have made it 2 days because we have so much to thank God for. My dear, if you have come out of the dungeons of the last 8 years, you want to thank God for saying bye-bye to corruption, to impunity, to wickedness, to incompetence, extreme, to bad governance. I want to thank God for the fact that today, anyone at all can get up and demonstrate. I want to thank God that when my friends go out to demonstrate, I will not be looking for them in Nsawam. It is good reason to thank God. I want to thank God that my grandmother in the village, my aunties and uncles who worked their whole lives, sweated and deferred spending so they can invest in their old age. Old age where you are riddled with so many sicknesses and problems.
Medical bills.
And then someone will just callously sit down and decide that it's your money they will touch, not even their money that they are having in excess. So Ghana has many reasons to thank God. We are grateful. A lot of, I hear these labor agitations a lot, and it's always our dear opposition members complaining. I always say, if you got a job if you got a job fairly, and that job has been taken from you,
thank you.
Apply again.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
Apply to the job if you are qualified for it.
We
had secondary school graduates in sensitive positions earning monies that they did not deserve.
Labor complaining.
Engineer has the floor now.
If you are qualified for the job, apply.
Come on, you guys are not like this. Let's not do this. Stop it. Doc,
if you are qualified for the job, apply for it.
Your mic is actually off. Thank you.
You muted my mic.
Engineer.
That's not fair.
Oh, you see.
Okay. I am getting worried about state involvement in religion.
Okay.
One, because we are not a country of just Christians or Muslims. There are other religions. So I'm getting worried with state participating in religion. And we need to be careful. We have been in this country where instead of politicians and technical people dealing with problems, we say, let's go and pray for water in the Akosombo Dam. Let's pray for the rise of the CD. Let's do this.
Galamsey prayers.
Exactly. Let's get serious. And now, government institutions, every government function you go to, let's pray. I mean, prayer should be a private matter. I think that the state institutions, there must be a directive to them. They must stop all this thing about prayers at meetings. So I am worried about that. And I think that we must be careful the way we are treading.
Right.
Because other than that, we are going to justify the building of a national cathedral. Let's be careful.
Very well. Thank you.
Let's be very careful.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been quite interesting. The news review segment on Breakfast Daily. Stay with us here, though. Pretty shortly, we'll be going to the foyer of the Accra International Conference Center for the launch of the government's 24-hour economy policy initiative. Stay with us. We'll be right back.